Welcome everyone to today's video lesson on Microsoft Access. Uh, I thank you all for watching yesterday's video. We had a lot of watches and then we had some engagement. Uh, don't forget, whenever you're watching the video, like, and then if you've not followed yet, try and follow so that whatever video that I upload, you have access to it. So this video is still on database management using Access. But before we get deep into database management, because yesterday we looked at how to open Microsoft Access, we looked at the ribbons that are in Microsoft Access and the toolbar that are in Microsoft Access, and then we explained those ribbons and toolbar. So today we want to get a good understanding of what a database system is. So today's video is mostly on what a database system is, and then we learn a little bit about database schema, what a database schema is, and then you are also supposed to be able to identify what are these key components of a database. And at the end of this lesson, you should be able to define some very simple terms on a database system. Remember, this is just an introductory lesson based on the WAS syllabus. And then at the end of this lesson, you should be able to sit on your own at home or wherever you are and be able to design a simple database schema or draw a simple ER diagram. So this lesson is going to talk about the theoretical part of what a database is. So yesterday we looked at opening the database. Today we are going to talk about the theoretical part of what a database is. Now let us start first with the definition of a database. Now, as we said yesterday, a database is just an organized collection of related items. Now, take a look at a database like a set. You know, we've all done set in school in mathematics. I know maths is not something that we like too much, but it's a fundamental part of life. Database is like a set of items. You know, when you have set, if you say set A, you can have there, let's say, set of numbers greater than 100, or you can have set B to be capital cities in West Africa, or you can have set C to be countries in Asia, etc., etc. So too, a database is just a collection of items that are related. You cannot have a database of items that are not related. It has to be related data. That's what a database is. So, for example, if we want to get a database for a school, the school database has items that are related to school. What are the items that are related to school? We have things like the students, we have teachers, we have parents, we have grades for students, we have teachers to upload their marks. If we talk about a database for, let's say, a petrol station, you will have the attendant, the one pumping the essence. You can have also different vehicles coming in. You can have the cashier and so on and so forth. So whenever you are developing a database, it has to be related data. You cannot have a database for a school and then inside the database for school, you go and have some things that relate to, let's say, for example, a petrol station. It's different things. So we can have different kinds of database, and then these database, they all have to relate. So if we want to build a database for a school, for example, it has to be items that are related to school. You want to build a database for a mini market, it has to be items that are related to a mini market. Let's say you have a small business, you want to build a database to make your sales effective, for you to be able to track your sales, so for you to be able to manage your sales, for you to be able to store it, so that you are able to know, okay, this month these are the things that I have sold, this month these are the things that I need to order so that I can replenish my supplies. So that's what a database is. That's why learning database is very, very important in school, because this world that we are living in, like as I said yesterday, it all revolves around data, and data is very important. So that's why the definition of a database is an organized collection of related data, data that are connected, data that are linked. And we have examples here: database to show information for students, teachers, classes, grades. This is school database. All these things will be tables that will be inside a school database. Now, why is it that we use database? It's very important for us to use database, and I've explained this already. Now, we use database for different reasons. One of it is so that we can be able to find and organize information easily. Say, for example, I am in a school, because most of you are students, or maybe you are watching this video and you are working. Database applies also to you. Say you are in a school. I'm a teacher teaching in school X. I want to get the records of my students. Before, we have to go through files, a lot of paper documents, try to search for the student, etc., etc. But in a database, we can easily just get a search button and then look for the student, type the name of student X, and be able to easily find the student X in our database. So that's what database does. It makes it easy for us to find and organize without using all this paper. And then, paper, something can happen. It can burn. Uh, Different things can happen to paper. It can be altered, it can be missing, etc., etc. But if you have a good database and you store it, let's say in the cloud, for example, it can be kept there for a very, very long time. So database allows you to be able to find and then organize your information properly. Also, the duplication of data, wherein if you put something in, you come again and put the same thing in. In a database, that is very, very rare. It cannot be done. It's very difficult for that to be done. So it reduces that duplication of data, having the same thing like 5 times. So the data, when you build a good database, it will always tell you if someone has already been registered and so on and so forth. That's why sometimes if you enter some websites, when you put in a particular name, let's say you are creating an email, for example, they will tell you that this username or this email has already been taken. And then Google or whatever email site you are using will now suggest names that they think have not been used yet that you can use for your email, because database where they are storing it in does not allow data to be duplicated. So if your name is Claude, for example, you cannot have 2, 3, 4, 5 Claude in the database. It has to be just one Claude. That's why the next Claude that will come in has to be Claude 1, another one will be Claude 2, Claude 3, and so on and so forth. Also, a database supports large amount of data. It supports large amount of data. The number of data that you can put in a database is a lot. You can have so many data in a database. Take a school, for example, say a very size A, very big school of 1,000 students. If we want to store that on paper, it's going to be a lot of paper that we are going to have. But we can have 1,000 students in a database. We can have 2,000 students. Imagine Google's database, for example. How many people are using Google in a day? Google's database takes millions, if not billions of data. Take Facebook. How many users does Facebook have? TikTok. How many users does TikTok have? All that deals with database. So it also allows multiple users to have access to the same data. I can use TikTok at the same time that student X, student Y, student Z, they can all use TikTok at the same time. We can all access a video that is on TikTok at the same time. Maybe the time you are watching this video is the same time that another student or another person somewhere is also watching the video. And finally, database makes reporting very simple. After getting all these things, I want to know now, how many people do I have that are over 18 years? I can easily get that one. So that is what we call query. And when you make a query, you can always create a report on a query. But query is something that we are going to look at better when we move forward in subsequent lessons. Now, we are talking about data and database. As we said, there are different kinds of data. There are different kinds of database that you can have. We'll look at the different kinds of database that we can have. But the things that we can input in a data, what are the kind of things that a data can take, especially when it comes to Microsoft Access? These are the types of data that Microsoft Access takes. So Microsoft Access can take a data that is text, it can take a data that is number, it can take a data that is a currency. And for text, it can take two kinds of text. It can be long text, it can be short text, it can be rich text. So long text, that one has it takes like 64,000 plus characters. For short text, it takes just 255 characters, not more than that. It cannot take more than 255 characters, but long text can take 64,000 plus characters. When we say characters, we are talking about these letters. Each of these letters are characters. So this is one character, two character, three character, four characters. meaning the word text has like 4 characters. So if you know in your database the things that you are going to input in there are things that are not more than 255 letters or characters, because it cannot only be letters, it can be numbers, etc., etc. So if it's not more than 255, you always put your or set your database to be a short text. If it's more than 255, then you need to get it as a long text. So if you want people to input, let's say, a biography of themselves, you know that one, except the person wants to write a very short biography, but it will take more than 250 characters. So that one has to be a long text. So we also have data that can be numeric data, so number. We can have also data that are currency, money. So if you want to input monetary values, you can do that. When we are going to look at access, we're going to see all these things and how we input them. You can have what we call a Boolean data. That is a data that takes only 2 things, yes or no, male or female. It takes only 2 things. It doesn't take more than 2 things. That's what we refer to as Boolean. And Boolean is named from the mathematician George Boole. George Boole is a mathematician that worked on the Boolean theory. So he brought this Boolean algebra, and it's used in so many instances. It's used in physics, it's used in ICT, it's used in mathematics, and it's even used in law, where you have logical reasoning. So George Boole brought about this type of mathematics, and in database we apply this kind of data wherein we want to take only 2 kinds of things from a user. So we do that one. Then we also can take data that is date and time. So your, let's say we want to take your date of birth, the time you enter a school, the time you enter a workplace, etc., etc. Then we can do also calculations. Yesterday I was saying that we can do calculations in Access. So that is will be now a calculated field. We can also put inside there an attachment, images, any kinds of files, videos, etc., etc. All those ones can be inputted. A hyperlink, like where you have an email, you want to put in an email, a link to a website, etc., etc. That's the hyperlink data. It can also be a lookup, wherein a specific data is retrieved from the database that you have. So you have, let's say, for example, you put in specific options, and then only those options can be selected. So that's a lookup. So these are just few of the types of data that we'll be looking at when we look at access. Now, as we know, in anything that is going to be good, you have to plan it. If you don't plan something, it's not going to work well. If I want to cook benachin, for example, I need to have plan of how my benachin will look like. I cannot just get up and then start taking 2, 3 things and put them inside the pot and say, oh, this is benachin. No, I need to have what are the ingredients of benachin. What are the things that are going to make up that benachin? So too, in database, you need to know what are the things that are going to make up your database. You know, database, you have tables in the database, the related tables that are there. So for example, if I want to build a school database, I have to sit down and think, what are the things that I need in a school database? What are those tables that I will need in a school database? If I want to build a database for my business, what are the kind of tables that I need in that database? I need my customer, I need my products, I need so many other things. So that is what a database schema is. The database schema is just the design, the structure of that database. How the database is supposed to look like. What are the possible tables that are supposed to be in that database? What are the fields that are supposed to be in those tables? That is what we call a database schema. So the database schema will show what tables are supposed to be there, what fields are supposed to be there, and even the relationships between these tables and between these fields. That's what a database schema talks about. So we have an example of a database schema here. This is like a school database schema where we have the office, so the instructor ID. We have here the students, we have the instructor, that's like a teacher. We have the departments that we have, the courses, the subjects, the enrollment, so what kind this is. So this is what you call a database schema. You can see here each of these ones are representing a specific table in that particular database. And inside that table, let's say the table for students, for example, these ones that you see here, properties, ID, last name, first name, enrollment date, these ones are what we call the fields. So with this schema that we have here, we can easily be able to now create our database. So it's always a good practice before you start building your database. It's always a good practice for you to sit down, think about how your database should look like. Do the schema for your database. Remember, schema is just talking about the design, the structure of your database, how it's going to look like. That's what a schema is, and you have an example of a schema. This is something that you can do. Think of a business idea that you want to come up with. Think of what are the possible tables that you will need, and then think of what are the fields that are supposed to be in those tables. Then you look at which table are going to connect to which table. So the tables that are going to have something in common, that's what we call relationship. So relationship is just talking about the things that they have in common. And relationship can be in different forms. We are going to talk about it in depth when we come to relationship. That is when we are now building our database. We're going to look at relationships in depth when we look at that. So we have here, there is a relationship between student and enrollment, because students have to be enrolled. There is a relationship between enrollment and the course. So when you enroll, you have to go to a course. There is a relationship between the course and the instructor or the lecturer or the teacher. And there's a relationship between the instructor and the department. And then there is a relationship between the instructor and the office. So all these things that you are seeing, they are just talking about relationships. And you can go on to Google, look at different kinds of database schema, and then look at the relationships between them. Try and always identify what we call the primary key. So all these things, just look at these ones. Instructor ID, ID here, ID here. You can see a small key is around them. Can you see the small key? A small key is around them. These small key that we have around them, they are what we call primary key. Now, a primary key is what we refer to as a unique identifier, something that only you can have. Nobody in this world can have that one. So in a school, for example, the primary key for each student will be like their student ID. So when you are registered in a school, every student is given a student ID. If you are going to see to your WAS or your Gabeke, you are given a primary key. Can you guess what that primary key is? The primary key is your index number. That's why every student has an index number. That index number is to make the database of WAEC to be easy to retrieve a student's details. So that's why when results are out, they can easily go and retrieve your result and not retrieve somebody else's result. So that is what a primary key does. So primary key is a unique identifier. It distinguishes you from someone else. You and I can have the same surname. I can be called Bojang, you can be called Bojang. I can be called Pratt, you can be called Pratt. So you and I can have the same surname. But what will make you and I to be different is now our primary key. I can be called Claude Campbell or Mr. X. There can be another Mr. X also, another Mr. Y, another maybe 3, 4 Mr. X. But what is going to be the difference between one Mr. X and the other Mr. X is going to be the primary key. Maybe the first Mr. X that comes will be given the key 001. The second one that comes will be given 002 and so on and so forth. That's why even when you are registering for your exams, you can have same surname, same name with another person, but then your index numbers will be different. That index number is what you refer to as your primary key. So you have to take note of those kind of things. So as we said, these are some of the key terms you have to know when you are talking about database. Anytime we are going to do this course on database, these are the terms that you always be hearing. So try and get used to these terms so that when we are doing it, you know exactly what these terms are. A table, as we say, it stores data more than one entity. We have a record, we said it yesterday. Record are just rows in a table, and then fields are the columns in a table, and then the primary key, unique identifier, like your index number, like your student ID, like your employee ID, etc., etc. Then a foreign key. A foreign key is like you have, let's say for example, we have two tables, and then this table and this table have a relationship. But now what will link that relationship between the two tables is if that other table has like a foreign key, that is the primary key of one table is now imported into another table, and then that is going to be called now a foreign key. So that's what a foreign key is. Like for example, we have a president in this country. If that president travels to another country, that president becomes a foreign person in that land. So when that person goes to that country, the person becomes a foreigner in that land. Even though if they come back to their country, they become an important person or a president in their country. So that's how the foreign key works like. And then we talk about relationship, the connection between two tables. And then we talk about query, like you are asking something. Query is from asking. You are asking the database to remove something for you. So if I go and I say I want student X, when I'm typing student X, I am doing a query to the database, and it is going to give me the details of that student X and a form. So anytime you go to a website, that thing that you enter your name, etc., that one is a form. So database also, when you enter that one, we can be able to create a form on Microsoft Access, which we are going to see. And finally, we have what we call a report. A report is just a summary of the data. So if I do my query, get my data, what I am seeing, that is called the report. So if you go, for example, you want to remove your result, you put your index number and put all the pin code, etc., etc. Now, what you see when you enter all that and submit, that one is what you call the report. So we're going to learn all these things in this database course. But today is just a short one for you to understand exactly what a database is. Now, I want you to go and work on creating a database schema, just a very simple database schema. So try identify what your database first is going to be about. Remember, related items have to be in there. Then you look at which table should have a relationship. So when you get your tables, which table should have relationship. Then you look at what are going to be the unique things in each table that will distinguish one item from another item. And if these two tables are going to have a relationship, what is going to be the foreign keys that will be in there? So try and do this one, and then let me know your feedback if you are able to do this. You can brainstorm on this one on your own to make the learning fun and for it to stick in your head. So you can do an activity here. So you can think about a shop database, what kind of table. So you can decide what kind of shop you want, whether a clothing shop, whether a shop that sells groceries, and so on and so forth. What kind of database, what tables do you need in that kind of shop database? So what are the fields that are going to be in each of those tables, and which relationship is going to exist between these tables? So like a shop, let's say for example, if I want to do a grocery shop, I can have employee or cashier. Someone is going to work for me, a cashier. So anytime the cashier comes, so that's a table, cashier or employee. So if I have cashier, what are the fields that are going to be under cashier? I need the cashier's name, or I know the cashier's ID. That cashier ID is going to be my primary key. The cashier ID is going to be my primary key because each cashier can have the same name, but then if they all have different ID, different identification number, then no cashier can be able to work for another cashier. So that is going to be my primary key. Then I'll have cashier name, maybe first name, maybe surname, and then even the phone number of the cashier and or the address of the cashier. Then after that, I can get another table wherein, let's say I have different products in my grocery shop. I have sweets. I can get different name of sweets, the batch number. So that batch number of the sweets, that one can be like the primary key. So if you go, let's say for example, to a mini market, sometimes you usually see they take your product and they scan it. When they scan it, they instantly know the price of that one. So that scan that they are scanning, they are trying to do a query. So it's reading that, it's reading the barcode or whatever RFID number that is there, it's reading that one. Then it will know that this is the specific one. So that number corresponds to a specific product inside the database. So if the number is 12345, it corresponds to a specific product that is inside the database. Now they will go to the machine now will go to that product, retrieve that product. That is what you call the query. And then it will show you what that product is. And then it will show you the price of the product that has already been put there as a calculated data. So it will show you the price of that particular product. When it shows you the price of that product, then any product you put here, it will show you the price, and after it will calculate it, tell you how much you have to pay. If you give money, they will enter the amount, and they will know even the exact balance that they need to give you as your change. So that's how a database works like. That's how all these shops work like, and that's how also different kinds of database. So you can think about this, go and prepare yourself a database schema, and I hope this class has made you to understand what a database is and how we use a database, and at least you'll be able to link database now to your everyday life. When you go to the mini market to go and buy something and the cashier tells you, let me scan your product, you know that instantly what they are trying to do is retrieve the number of that product from the database, and then they will be able to give you the report. That's where you have now your receipt, seeing everything there. That's a report. The receipt they give you is a report. So those are all things. You can see how ICT is fun and why knowledge in these kind of things are very, very important. So I think for today, this is where we are going to end. Right now, we've talked about what a database is. That is a collection of organized items, related items, items that are related. So it cannot be items that are not related. They have to be related. We've talked about what a schema is, the structure, the design of a database. And then we look at the key terms of a database, things like record, fields, what a primary key is, what a foreign key is. We've looked at all those things. And then we've given ourselves an exercise to go and look at, okay, how do we go about planning a database schema? And then we also want to relate our database to our everyday life. So if you are going around, going to the petrol station, trying to buy essence, you are going to the mini market, trying to buy products and they scan your product. You are going to school wherein your reports are generated. At the end of the term, you have your results. All that one is how database works. So in our next video, which I will upload as soon as possible, our next video, we are going to now go into now our Microsoft Access and start creating our first database. So we'll start creating our first database, look at how to create these tables, look at how to input these data that we have already learned, the different kinds of data that we can have. How do we input it? Learn a lot of very fun things. What is an input max? We learn very fun things, how to create a report, how to create a query, how to create a form, and then do some calculated things on database. So until we meet again, I thank you all for watching this video. Don't forget to follow, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment. If you have questions, I'll be in the comment section to respond to your comments. Thank you all for watching this video, and then have a very nice day.